Hey guys, Apox Fox here. Elden Ring has only been out for a couple days, and I have not even come close to completing it yet, but I wanted to talk about my first impressions for those of you who are still considering giving it a try. I'm just gonna come right out and say it, if you're a fan of Soulsborne games, you absolutely have to play this one. Not only is it already looking to be the best entry From Software has ever made, but it's a huge leap in the evolution of gaming in general. This is what a next-generation game feels like: incredibly detailed and stunning visuals, free-flowing and addictive combat, dense world building, and an actually great story with the help of George R.R. Martin, the creator of Game of Thrones. This game really has everything you could have hoped for and more. Obviously, there are some minor shortcomings like frame drops on PC and a bug that corrupts your save files. These have already been fixed, by the way, but if you're looking to play probably the most important game of the year, Elden Ring absolutely delivers. So let's get right into it. Elden Ring opens in very Breath of the Wild fashion. I feel like that term is a bit overused, but also it's become an open world staple at this point. I made the sorry mistake of attacking the first NPC you come across at the start of the game, and although I'm a little embarrassed to say it took me 20 minutes to defeat this guy, it was definitely the rude awakening I needed to adjust myself to the difficulty of Elden Ring. While it's true that you can become overpowered very fast, this is still a FromSoft game, and being caught in a bad spot or getting too greedy will probably end very badly for you. Enemies can still do massive damage for absolutely no reason, but I found most of the difficulty in Elden Ring was much more focused on learning enemies' movesets. Coming across a new enemy is more challenging than ever because of the wide variety of attacks each enemy has. But once you learn how to time your dodging and attacks, you will totally be fine. While most of the main combat mechanics are ripped straight out of Dark Souls like parrying and backstabbing, there was still a ton to learn, like taking advantage of the new jump button. I gotta say, being able to jump in this game added so much variety to the combat. You can now do a jumping attack, plus some enemies have moves that can only be avoided by jumping. It was weird to adjust to at first, but once you understand the importance of using the terrain around you to your advantage, jumping becomes essential for quick escapes and getting the higher ground. Being an open world game, you can also move around a lot faster than you usually would in Dark Souls. One of my biggest complaints surrounding Soulsborne games was how quickly you use up your stamina while you run around. But that's really not a problem here because your stamina doesn't go down at all anymore. Things feel a lot faster in general. I really appreciated how easy it is to pick up items on the fly. No more annoying pop-ups to get you killed in the heat of battle. But also you can pick things up while you ride around on your horse without getting off, which feels obvious, but if you've played the past Souls games, you'll probably appreciate this. Speaking of horseback riding, it's probably my favorite part of open world combat. Being able to sweep through huge groups of enemies is so much fun, but the combat shines the brightest when you're having a one-on-one jousting duel with another knight on horseback. You have to circle around each other and pick the perfect time to go in for the kill. It's these moments that are just so dramatic you feel like you're in a movie. I was a bit worried that horseback combat would be overpowered for weaker enemies, but actually the amount of times I was knocked off my horse says otherwise. I think riding around in general feels really good. This is definitely some of the most balanced and optimized horseback gameplay we've ever had. It's so easy to switch between walking and riding your horse that you don't really have to think about it. Even though this isn't at all how a horse would actually move around, when I look at games shooting for realistic horses like Breath of the Wild or Red Dead, they just kind of feel clunky and sometimes not even worth using. In Elden Ring, your horse is an extension of yourself, which is why it feels just as good as being on your own 2 feet. God, I really sound like a horse girl right now. There's also been a huge improvement to stealth mechanics. In past Souls games, yes, you could slowly shimmy up to somebody to get a backstab in, but in Elden Ring, they finally added a crouch button, which made a world of difference in the variety of ways you can take on a camp of enemies. I've always chosen a thief build in every single Dark Souls game, and it's the first time I've ever felt really rewarded by that choice. Enemies can be pretty blind, which is a little bit of a negative, but I'm still extremely happy that I can finally abuse my cowardly playstyle. Now, one of my biggest concerns going into Elden Ring was actually the fact that it's an open world. My favorite aspect of From Software games is the incredibly specific and well thought out level design. Now that Elden Ring is just one giant level, I was worried that we might lose some of the magic behind finding shortcuts and enduring the journey from bonfire to bonfire. I'm happy to report that I stand corrected. This is easily one of the most impressive open worlds I've ever seen. Not only is it dense with things to do, caves to explore, events to experience, but the same magic from the Dark Souls series is alive and thriving. Ring. Bonfires are still here in the form of sites of grace, and they are all perfectly laid out in places that feel intentional. The trip from the first grace to the second says enough. You can either go the long way around and maybe run into a giant, or you could go to the right and take on some evil harpy guys, or if you're impatient like me, you could run straight down the middle past an overworld boss that can kill you in a single hit. Although you can find your own path this time around, there is still enough attention to each area to make every route interesting. I was filled with excitement coming across the hidden caves and small camps with merchants. You can't go 50 yards without finding something that tells its own story. It's really a culmination of everything we love about Dark Souls level design, but even better. I haven't even mentioned it yet, but the map is so much bigger than I thought it would be. Honestly, I expected the first area, Limgrave, was going to be the entire map, which I would have been fine with because it's massive enough as is, but when I realized that Limgrave was only a small piece of a much larger world, it kind of blew my mind. Even now, after 20 hours of playing, I'm continually shocked at the fact that the game just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's not just about size though. Every single corner of this map is filled to the brim with things to do, whether that be mini dungeons or castle ruins. Every time I think I've seen the full extent of what Elden Ring has to offer, it just keeps going. Oh my gosh, and the overworld music is so good. Don't get me wrong, I can appreciate the quieter moments before a boss fight, but having actual combat and exploration music was a very pleasant surprise. Sometimes it's nice to go find a peaceful place with a nice view, read some messages from other players, and let the music take over. But yeah, boss fight music still kicks ass, and the bosses themselves are pretty good too. I haven't come across too much that have impressed me as much as the Dark Souls 3 bosses yet, but I do really like some of the new designs. Especially early in the game, there's this cat boss, which is like actually really easy, but so goofy looking it just stood out to me as a really cool boss fight. I'll talk about the bosses in a bit more detail once I finish the game, but for now they do show promise. So guys, Elden Ring was totally worth the hype that it's been getting for 2 years now. I could still be in a honeymoon phase, but I'm just so happy this game exists, and I can't wait for the next 50 hours I put into Elden Ring. After that, I'll come back and give my final thoughts, but for now, you should definitely play it too, because you do not want to miss out on this piece of gaming history. Anyways guys, make sure to subscribe for more weekly reviews like this. We're getting pretty close to 11k subscribers, and I'd love to hit that this month, so subscribe to help me out. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, keep on gaming to the fullest, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.